Hello and welcome to this interview in the series that is all about empowering a league of extraordinary mothers on how to use the power of food to boost our energy, get the body we love, and get back that zest for life that we all crave. Today, we are so fortunate to have Janella Purcell with us. Janella has been in practice for 20 years as a naturopathic physician. She has created a holistic approach to regaining health and sustained well-being. She's also the author of 4 books we were talking about just before I hit record, because they have got hands down the best covers. They're absolutely gorgeous. Hello, Janella, and thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Edwina. That's sweet of you to say. Thank you.
Now everyone's going to be dying to check them out. Check out the cover of Elixir. It's gorgeous.
Oh, thank you.
It's gorgeous. So, Janella, can we start with, let's start with your story and what brought you to be doing the work that you do.
It started when I was a young girl, really. I couldn't digest many foods, and that was the beginning of it. So I think I was too young to realise that emotions had a big part of it, although my mother realised that. She was saying, you're very soft and you're a worrier and you care about everybody else and you need to put your own oxygen mask on first, which was always her message to me, which is I still carry that one with me and tell my clients that one. Put your own oxygen mask on before you fit the kids. It's a really good one.
Yeah.
So I always had, from a young girl, like say 5, 6, 7, 8, had diarrhea and I couldn't digest food. There was many foods I couldn't eat and I had headaches and I just wasn't well. And I came from a really stable, happy upbringing, family life. My mother's Lebanese, my father's Irish. So we had a big extended family and everyone was always at our house and I was always the cook because I was a little helper. But I got worse. And then when I hit puberty is when it really went, which, after all the study I've done now, I understand why. So the estrogen kicked in and, then I got, from my first period was excruciating. So then we realised I had endometriosis and that was in 1981, I think, and in Brisbane. So it was pretty, unheard of then. So I was really lucky to find a gynecologist that diagnosed me straight on the pill and then no period. And then I've had 7 laparoscopies, I think. So I'm pretty experienced with endo. My sister also has, just one sister has endo as well. So my endometriosis was a big problem and so were my food intolerances, but no one talked about food intolerances, and gut wasn't trendy as it is now. Like gut issues are everything.
Yeah.
And I felt unusual. So we went to lots of different people and practitioners and psychologists and I was really sporty and had lots of friends, so there was nothing really. So I went on my own journey. I had to find out what was wrong with me. I felt there's something wrong with me. So that's how I started really, and I experimented with lots of different diets, unfortunately, when I was a teenager and did lots of fasting and messed my metabolism right up that way. And then I studied, became a chef really just by accident because I did many hours cooking in restaurants to get extra money while I was studying naturopathy. And then naturopathy was the happiest time of my life, I think. It was just like I was 26 when I started. So this is it. I just felt it was revision. It was almost like revision. I went, okay, this is great. But then I didn't, I loved the herbs and I loved the nutrition, but I didn't learn about body-mind connection. And that's what I was really interested in. So I studied Chinese medicine and kinesiology and, studied separate courses with esoteric healers and energetic healers and had my own mentors for a long time through that. So 20s was a lot of travel to different parts of the world to learn from different shamans and healers, and that was just wonderful. Wow. And at about 30 I started working in health food stores in Sydney, so I managed health food stores, which was amazing. You learn so much from customers and mothers coming in going, my child's got this, and no one knew very much. This is early, before 2000. So I learned a lot in health food stores, and then from there I went on to TV, and that I just fell into that, which was amazing. I think that was a definite calling, and was all just set up for me. It just sort of happened. And practices at the same time. So really I got into this from my own issues, which most healers do, I think, and Western medicine had let me down. Yeah. And it was about band-aiding the symptoms, and I didn't want the side effects from the medication that I was taking. So I was putting on weight, my digestion was worse, my emotions were worse, I was always worrying and anxious about everybody, and guilt and fear, and it's like, why? But now I know the gut connection and what happens with that. So it's such a fascinating world, and I love helping women. I mean, mostly women come to practice, right? Men are in denial about anything, mostly to do with their health and side of weakness, generally. Yeah. But mostly it's women and mothers, and a lot of the patients or clients I've had since they were, young women in their early 20s, and they're now in their early 40s and onwards. So it's been nice to have that progress with people and have that connection.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I can, actually, that sounds like dream clients to me.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It is. It's such a beautiful thing to do. It's such a privilege. And the people that come to me, I think, they're ready to go deep, because Western medicine is break your leg, I want to, have a heart attack, or you need some pain relief. It's great for that reason, but it's not for deeper stuff. And if you really want to heal deeply, you need to go in. You need to dig out that trauma and the grief and the childhood stress that we've all been through, no matter who we are and where we come from. It's different levels, and how we've stored it in our body and where we've stored it in our body, and start pulling that stuff out. I mean, it's heavy duty. It's not for the faint-hearted, but there's more and more and more. I mean, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, MS, Parkinson's, cancer, migraines. It's chronic now, isn't it? Like before, when I started in practice, it was candida. It was all about candida and salicylates and oxalates, and just take those out and everything will be fine. And people would be fine for, take gluten out, of course, was the biggest evil. But then they'd be fine for a couple of weeks, and then everything would come back. And they're like, what's going on? And I didn't know either. So that's when I started researching myself.
So let's look at that. Why are we looking at this epidemic? Because it is an epidemic of chronic ill health. And it's mental and physical, isn't it, Janella? I mean, the rates of anxiety and depression are just as high as the rates of all these autoimmune diseases and obesities and diabetes that we're seeing. So why have we done this shift from acute illnesses to now this picture of chronic illness?
It's the billion-dollar question now, probably. But after much research, it's there's no one answer to that, and everybody's really different. But the main factors are chemicals in our environment. There's no coincidence that chemicals came into our life post World War II, and we started growing our food with the leftover chemicals. So the same company who made napalm makes, it has the genetically modified technology and grows our food with that. There's too many chemicals in our life, so that's one stress. And there's also fluoride in our water, and there's chlorine in our water. Antibiotics, we live in a bubble of antibiotics. So even if you live in the most remote area on the planet and you don't have running water and you've never been to the Western world, you're still going to have DDT in your breast milk. And they've found that with very remote tribes because it's airborne. Like, we just live in a bubble of antibiotics. You can be a raw food vegan and still be having trouble with chemicals, organic raw food vegan, because of the chemicals we grow our food with. So chemicals are a massive issue. There's also our emotional stress, especially as women. So we're doing a lot now. Before, the women were all together in the tribe. We'd raised the children together, and the men protected us and provided security. And went and shot a deer, and then we invented agriculture and astronomy, and we looked after the hearth as well and the tribe of the children. So we shared the mothering, we shared the parenting. Some tribes still do that, but now we're doing it on our own. A lot of single mums out there as well. But we do everything. We're working, we're bringing the money in, we're looking after the home. The mental load is extreme, and we're doing it on our own. There's not a lot of connection between women. Women have seemed to have, there's a lot of competition between women, and we're not looking after each other. So it's about, we're doing too much. There's no rest time. There's no boredom. Yeah. There's and this is immune deflating. It suppresses your immune system, that sort of stress. So if physical stress, physically doing too much, we have emotional stress with the mental and chemical stress as well. So it's a perfect storm between the chemicals, the emotional stress, and the physical stress. I mean, how many of us are going to Bikram classes and CrossFit and, pump classes and spin classes and running, and we've still got that 80s message in our head saying, make it burn. This is where the fat burning happens. Push it. And then you go, oh my God, let's get adrenal fatigue. This is a wonderful way to have a crash. We used to call it a burnout in the old days, or a nervous breakdown, or, a crash. And now it's adrenal fatigue / chronic fatigue / fibromyalgia / depression, anxiety, allergies, autoimmune disease. So, and we're all a bit too clean. The kids, remember when I was a kid, you get in the garden and you dirt on your hands, and now it's antiseptic wipes and everything's all a bit too clean, and there's chemicals in the dirt and the internal environment is more toxic than our external environment, which would probably be a shock to a lot of people, because the external environment is pretty rank, but internal is hotter. We have the temperature's higher in our home, so the chemicals are more concentrated. So we're sleeping with air conditioning, the door's shut, we're watching TV that have fire retardants in it, in our computer cords. So it's just this perfect combination. And women have denied their feminine. A lot of women have denied their feminine. So we go to work, we put on a man's suit, take a Nurofen, put a tampon in. I don't have my periods. We're supposed to be in the red tent or the smudge tent under the new moon with the other women resting at that time, and this doesn't happen.
No,
it doesn't. It kind of makes sense, when you look at how far we've become disconnected from nature and our natural rhythms with the moon, and prayer and meditation and just being, and it's just not happening. It's not happening.
There's a scene that I love in the movie Eat, Pray, Love. I don't know if you've seen it.
I was just talking about Eat, Pray, Love.
Love it. There's the dolce far niente, and they're laughing about how, they're talking about Americans, but it's any Western culture where you have to earn the right to relax. It's just like you flog, and then I've earned the right for I think he says a Miller's or something. Whereas in that Italian culture, in that sort of European older culture, it's relaxing is just part of the culture. It's what you do. And I just resonate with that so strongly. I struggle. I struggle to stop.
We all do. The faster you go, the hard, it's like being on a roller coaster. You just can't, how do I get off? I actually don't know how to get off. Your body will stop you though if you don't find balance. The other line in Eat, Pray, Love that I love is when she's all Javier Bardem's all loving her and she's all freaked out and she's lost her balance. She's lost her when she says, I've lost my balance. I'm not meditating. I'm drinking. I'm shagging. I'm doing all these things. And he says, sometimes you need to lose your balance in order to find your balance. Yeah. And that's really, really true. I think, you don't have to be, we're all a bit forensic about what we're eating, and we're all a bit, we have to do this and we have to do that, instead of sometimes go, you know what, I am just going to sleep in today, or I am going to miss yoga, or I am going to let myself fall in love, or I am going to whatever. You don't have to have this perfect, we've all got this, we're all striving for this perfection and this perfect body and this perfect face and this perfect boobs and the perfect man and the perfect job and the perfect kids, and it just doesn't, this is perfect the way it is. Yeah. So I love that line. Sometimes you need to lose your balance so you can find it again.
The trick is, and I cannot tell you how many phone calls I get from women who are 49, about to turn 50. It seems to be
that's me.
The age women ring me, and I haven't got there yet, but for whatever reason, these are the women that ring me, and it's like I've I can't work out who I am. You know,
Yeah.
that is the message. I've forgotten who I am. I don't know who I'm supposed to be now. That is the foundation of what they're all saying. And I get it. I get it.
So why do you think that is?
I think because we're so busy being in service to everybody around us.
And why do you think we do that?
Well, because that's what society, like in order to have that little label of a good mum, you must, piano lessons, football lessons, ballet lessons,
Soccer,
like it is. And then they've got to be dressed right. And then they've got to do their homework. And then it's, you've got to monitor the time on their screen, and then you've got to feed them right. And then you've got to get them, it's like, oh my gosh, it's exhausting.
Yeah, it is exhausting. So that brings us back to the point earlier about when we were tribal. Our ancestors and ourselves remember this. So when we, see interviews like what you're doing, or we read things about Shakti women or the ancient women and the shamans, we go, we feel ourselves remember. We go, that feels good. Yeah. But I think from what I've been learning and researching from my last book is that it's estrogen. It's estrogen. So when estrogen makes us forget ourselves in order to get a man to have babies with. Aren't I easy? You'll love having me. I've got no needs of my own. I'm pretty. My skin's dewy. My bum sits up like this, and I can feed you and give you this, and look how easy I am because I just want to be of service to you. So estrogen makes us give. And then when your estrogen starts to go down, so perimenopause, so early 40s, up to, 10 years about is perimenopause, you start to go, you know what? I'm not wearing I'm going to wear Ugg boots outside, and you can get your own lunch. And I might go to India for a retreat, and I, you know what, lipstick, and I don't really care what you want because I've given to you. And you see, women at menopause they get mean usually because I've sacrificed my whole life for you, and you're big enough to do your own thing. Iyengar, yoga, Mr. Iyengar, he says it's the forest dwelling time for a woman. We just want to be little forest nymphs then, and contemplate our navel and go, what happened then? And where have I been? And you get a bit resentful because your estrogen just goes, care. And you really just want to look after yourself. And you're looking at your skin and it's getting drier, and you're getting skin tags, and you're getting age spots, and then you're contemplating getting worked, and you're going, oh my God, and should I do that? And should I not do that? And everyone else is doing that. And I'm nearly 50. And what if I leave my husband? Or will I get at somebody else because I'm this, that, and I don't want to give anymore. So it's a huge time of rediscovery of who am I if I'm not giving, if I'm not of service. Like, it's a huge existential question that is the night of the dark soul. Like, this is or some people call it, the dark forest, when you're in there and you're just like, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I want to do, but this isn't right for me anymore, and it's not working. And care if I haven't made you dinner or lunch, you can starve. My mum actually at 50 went to uni and became a quantity surveyor and got honours.
Yeah,
she
right.
Year 12 because she was deaf when she was younger, and she finished year 12, had to do all these bridging, and we were just going, go mum, like amazing, and just started a whole new career.
Yeah.
Dad was like going, excuse me?
I'm hungry.
Yeah, me?
Oh, I love it. It's so spot on.
That's so true, isn't it?
Yeah.
Universal. We're all doing it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love it. But we've got to talk about it. If we don't have these conversations as women, you feel like you're the only loony on the block.
You really do. And that's another. Loneliness is killing more people than anything else. And more people live alone now in Australia than any other family group. And, there's great studies on loneliness being done, and also on like Facebook and being unfriended. So being unfriended is the equivalent of being chased by a saber-toothed tiger in the old days. So it's fear. I'm disconnected. This is an amazing study, that one that was done. And when we're alone, our immune system drops, because if we don't have any mates around us, we don't need a strong immune system to ward off their particular bacteria or viruses. So our immune system drops, and then we get sick.
Yeah.
And if a woman also doesn't have pair bonding, so pair bonding is when you find a mate that protects you, that you feel you have something in common with, that you're not alone in the world. Women don't do well if we don't have this protection
Yeah.
behind us. And a lot of women are single. Like, how many fabulous women do you know are single? You just go, oh my God, you're amazing. But
Yeah.
they don't, the men are intimidated because they don't know what their roles are anymore. So they're on their own, working too much, drinking too much as well. And then recreational drugs and pharmaceutical drugs. And it's just, it's a vicious circle, really.
I remember hearing, I think it was in one of Brene Brown books, she refers to a study about loneliness, and it's, equivalent to our health as a pack a day cigarettes, habit.
Cigarettes no longer the biggest evil, not at all. Yeah, exactly. It's a real problem, and women are leaving their husbands more now than they ever did because they're like, well, I've got my own money, the kids are growing up, or there's no kids, and why am I doing this again? But then you're alone.
Yeah.
And then other women aren't so happy about it when you're single as well. That's a problem. They're not inclusive because I'm still my husband. There's that going on. There's a lot of that going on.
Okay. We're supposed to be talking about food. I love it.
Yeah, but that's what we talked about in the pre-interview when we met. We've all been stuck on food. So do you want to go into food?
Well, I think let's look at adrenal fatigue. Let's look at adrenal fatigue, because this is massive, and whether you've been diagnosed or not, it's rampant. And part of this series is talking about energy, because everybody I speak to is exhausted and tired. So tell us first of all, what actually is adrenal fatigue for those that don't know?
Great. So your adrenal glands are these little glands, are about the size of an almond, and they sit on top of your kidneys. Mm-hmm. So 2 kidneys, 2 adrenal glands. So your adrenal glands, kind of look at them like a petrol tank.
Yep.
So when you need extra energy, so when you're in stress, so this is perceived stress or actual stress. Yes. So thinking is the same. Your adrenal glands go, oh, she's in trouble. She needs to get away from that saber-toothed tiger, and she needs to get her cubs, and she needs to get them and get up a tree and out of danger. Yeah. So you get this extra surge of adrenaline and cortisol, your stress hormones. So, you only have so much petrol in your tank, right? So though the petrol, you're supposed to put your foot on the accelerator, get up that tree, 10 to 20 minutes, and then you're in a safe space, and then you're okay. And you see animals do it. They're running away, or they're the predators, and they need the extra energy to go and, hunt for the food, but then they're sitting down or relaxing and eating that animal. And so progesterone then, as opposed to stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol, progesterone is your rest and digest hormone. So you're sending out all these stress hormones, then you're safe, and then you're resting. But we don't do that. So our stress hormones are like just constantly all through the night, which is also why we're not sleeping, because melatonin, your sleepy hormone, can't exist when you have stress hormones, because you're not supposed to fall asleep when a bus is about to hit you. You need that extra. You can't go, oh, that's still fine, I'm just going to fall asleep. Your body needs you to get out of the way. So if you're still releasing all these stress hormones constantly, you run out of petrol. And so you get warnings. So there's 3 stages of adrenal fatigue. You get the warnings and you just ignore them, because you can't actually listen to your body. And your body's your unconscious mind. Your body's going, sweetie, something's not right here, and I'm going to let you know by your body hurting. And we just take a pill, or we go to the naturopath and take some herbs for that, or, we go to meditation classes, hopefully. But it's not quite cutting it in most cases. So the first stage of adrenal fatigue is it's an exciting stage. It's like when you've had a baby, or you've got a gig, you're like a theatre production, or you've got a deadline, and you're like, whoa, and you've got all this excitable energy, and people get really addicted to that too, because it feels great. And then you're supposed to finish that job, or the baby's sleeping through the night, and then you can rest. And then your adrenal glands replenish and recover. And then you do it again. And then you do it again, and then you do it again. That's normal. That's life, right? But it's when you don't have those down humps, when you don't have the break, when you're just going from one stress to the next stress to the next stress. So that's when you hit adrenal fatigue too. That's usually when I see people, when people go to a practitioner and they go, I'm getting fat. And that's what gets us the most. Yes. As soon as we're getting fat, we're like, oh my God, it doesn't matter. It doesn't seem matter if we're constipated for a week or we're not sleeping. But if we're getting fat, it's like, help. Your body is going to hold on to fat, if it'll store fat for storage if you're in danger. So you won't use it as energy. You're going to be using glucose, like a really quick energy, which is why we crave sugar and wine. I mean, women love wine, right? Mm-hmm. Because it relaxes us and it's sugar. We should be using glycogen, which is a slow release burn, instead of this quick stuff. So we're just going to store the food we're eating. We're not going to digest it. Yeah. And your body thinks, you're in danger and there mightn't be any food around, because that's what happened to our ancestors. So let's just store it right on our tummy. Let's just put it right out there on our gut. And lots of women come, I exercise, I do everything, but I can't get rid of my tummy. Yeah. By the way, we're meant to have tummies. We're not meant to be men. But we don't like it, and we get fat. We just get fat. So that's adrenal fatigue too. And then most people that I see are in that stage, and it takes about 12 to 24 months to recover from that, because you think, how long has it taken for you to get there, right? And then also, I should finish this, adrenal fatigue 3. This is collapse. This is a breakdown. Mm-hmm. This is, you've just stretched that rubber band so far that there's no more elasticity in it. Yeah. And trying to get that back from that is tricky. Yeah. And once your adrenal glands are that, depleted, everything else comes from that. Mm-hmm. Coming into menopause is when a lot of women feel, a lot of people crash before that for all sorts of traumatic reasons, different traumas. Yeah. But once your adrenal, your ovaries start giving up their job, they send their job over to the adrenal glands, and the adrenal glands are supposed to pick it up then. And if your adrenal glands go, I'm busy, I'm already flat chat, I can't do that, that's when we really start to see the symptoms of adrenal fatigue, besides the weight gain and the crankiness and the insomnia and the sugar cravings and the don't want to eat till 11. But you get skin tags. You start getting skin tags, and it's really in the upper body and the inner groins. There's so many different forgetfulness. People just are like, I can't remember what I was just about to say. And I usually have a really sharp memory. And, there's symptoms that are very common, but everyone's really different as well, depending on your own makeup. But generally, they're there, and you're like, what is wrong with me? And you have no enjoyment for life. Depression starts because you're exhausted. You're just meant to be sleeping and resting and being nurtured and pampered, but we just keep going, and you're going through menopause soon, and then that's a whole change of life, and it's a whole different way of thinking, and you're too tired to kind of figure out how to change things if you're in a job or a relationship you're not happy with, or you've had long-term stress with your parents, or a child with special needs, or you just don't have that energy anymore. You don't have, a lot of people don't have their mums or their grandmas around to help with that, the transgenerational nurture, the spiritual community. Some people do, they're really lucky to, but a lot of people don't. So adrenal fatigue is massive. And for a long time, Western medicine said, oh, it's all in your head, and just take an antidepressant or a steroid or a painkiller. But, adrenal fatigue is nothing new. It's been around for a couple of 100 years, and it was first coined when there was a massive outbreak of the flu and people didn't get over it. And, there's a trigger for everyone with adrenal fatigue. It doesn't usually it's a slow burn, but then you go bang. So a breakup can do it, miscarriage, a death of a loved one. That's your trigger. It just tips you over. And, I say to people when they come in, when they're like that and they're just, everything's wrong, they're distraught, they're fat, everything's bad, you're sick, constipated, whatever. And I said, this is a blessing. This is going to be the best thing that's ever happened to you. And they, just like, what? But then at the end, they're like, you were so right. I was really angry at you that you said that, because how can this be a blessing? But it is, because you change everything and you start to look after yourself and have your needs met then. Hopefully.
It's just like, I've just got these light bulbs going off. It's amazing how, we can help other people, but, we're not very good at helping ourselves. And I'm just, all these little light bulbs. I lost a sister this year.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it was just an absolute shock. It was awful out of the blue. But, my comeback has always been, I've always been quite good at, I fell in a hole, but picking myself up. But this time, like I can't lose the weight that I put on, and that, like, there's all these things. I was listening to you going, checklist, and it's really interesting. It's really interesting.
Your adrenals would be going over time.
And I haven't stopped,
Of course you haven't. Because if you stop, you deal with it. That's why we don't, because it's really hard. I mean, there's nothing much harder than that, losing a loved one, especially then you've got the shock as well as the grief, and then the anger, and then the fear, and then the guilt of all the things that weren't said and what you did say. And I mean, that's multi-layered trauma there. And it's interesting work though, because, this, even when you've moved through it in your head and you can rationalize it, and your body's still storing that. Our bodies store pain and grief, and every experience we've ever had is stored in our body. So that's why sometimes when you're at yoga and you're doing a pose, you can just burst out crying or laughing, or remember something that happened to you in grade 2, or you're releasing the trauma from a twist is going to move your liver, and that's where you've got anger and resentment stored, and frustration, and your kidneys about fear and anxiety. Sometimes I'll just start laughing in yoga and just go, oh, that's the heart that's being opened. And we have to heal on every level, and there's imprints in our energetic field and our consciousness. And we don't know about this. We don't meditate mostly every day. We're not going into the quantum field, as they call it. That is where there's infinite possibilities. We're trying to figure out, as Einstein said, you don't figure out the answer to a problem by using the same thought patterns that got you there in the first place too. You need a whole different way of healing. And we knew this, our ancients knew this. They knew how to heal us. But now we're taking a pill and we're hoping that that's going to fix it. But if your heart's broken, I was in a first aid course yesterday that we have to do every 3 years as practitioners. And the guy was talking about heart attacks, and he was saying that, I think he said 350 spontaneous cardiac arrests, SCAs, happen a year in Australia, and we have no idea why. It's like going, we should know why, because there's a broken heart here, or usually a broken heart, and there's grief in our chest, and you can have, people die from broken hearts. That's, we knew that in the old movies, right? You see it. Like Dangerous Liaisons was one with Michelle Pfeiffer, and when John Malkovich, betrayed her, and she died and she was perfectly healthy before. We see these in the older movies, but we don't seem to realize it in our own lives that, deep trauma and grief is very, very dangerous for us.
Yeah. So painting this, we now have painted this picture of adrenal fatigue, and I'm hoping that a lot of women listening to this are going, actually, there's a few things here that make sense. So now that we've got some answers, how do we start to actually address it? What's the picture to heal ourselves?
Healing. So know that it's not a quick fix.
Yeah.
Know that it's hard. It's hard. You have to be resilient, but we are mostly. You have to be pretty sick of what you're doing now. So your choice is live like this, continue living like this, or do something about it. And know that it's not going to be overnight. So we're used to, diet shakes and paleo diet and keto, and, it's not like that. It's multi-layered. You have to work on every different level of stress. So physical stress, emotional stress, chemical stress, mental stress. But you know what? The number one thing that you have to do is meditate. And people just go, oh, I can't. Like the Dalai Lama says, sometimes he has a terrible meditation. It's not, we're all a bit attached to perfection. And unless we get there and we transcend immediately, people go, I can't. Seriously, mostly every day when I meditate, I'm doing lists in my head. I'm a monkey in Chinese now. I've got a monkey mind. And it's going, do this, lists, do that. You've got to do this, you've got to do that, you've got to do that. And then I'm going, don't forget to meditate today. Don't forget to meditate. I am meditating, you idiot.
I will relax.
Relax.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah. And it's not what people think. So there's this really good app. I mean, there's loads of apps, but I use one called Insight Timer, and it's like a social media app. And you can put in how much time you've got, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. You can write in busy mum, weight loss, anger, like anything, and you'll get guided. And you know what I do? I've trained in Vedic meditation. I've done all of them over my life, and you sit up and you're uncomfortable, or you sit on your knees and it's all about pain, right? And there's the Ayurvedic word ahimsa, which means non-violence, and that should be directed towards yourself as well. So I get on my bed, under the covers, put my iPad on, put my AirPods in, spray my Green Goddess spray that I love, or any essential oil. You don't have to do that. And I'm down. And it's a really good way to slow down as well and give you that time. It's really hard to get there. And then when you get there, I, at the end, fall asleep. I can, that beautiful limbics, that space in between worlds. And then I'm up after that. And it's beautiful. And most of the time I'm thinking, I know that. And then, but there's moments, there's microseconds where I'm transcending, because I come out with brilliant ideas and solutions and answers. Plus my adrenals go, thank you for just having a rest. But to get there, it took me many, many years. It was like getting off the roller coaster. I couldn't get to slow down. I didn't have enough time. But then I started thinking, why don't I? Why do I treat myself so badly that I can't take 10, 20 minutes out of my day? Why am I being so mean to myself? Why aren't I putting my own oxygen mask on first? Because I'm like, I should be giving of my surplus, not of my core essence. So I need to get my cup full again, instead of empty. If my cup was empty and I was still giving, instead of let's fill this cup up a little bit and then I can give out. So it's actually beneficial for everybody if you do. But if you you get better and better at it, obviously. And then you can meditate anyway. And then your brain gives yourself a break, because, we have about 60,000 thoughts a day. About 40 to 50 of those are repetitive and negative. It's the same old, you're not good enough, you're too fat, you're not educated enough, your teeth are awful, you haven't run your parents, you're mean to your friend, all of that stuff. I've got to ring the tax department, I have to, all of it. They're just crap. And so if that's gone, your body, which is your body, then you can start to listen to it, because your body's telling you stuff, right? And if you can't hear it, it's going to get louder. And then it gets so loud, it's called cancer. And 1 in 2 women are getting cancer. And dementia is killing more women in Australia than heart disease or anything.
Yeah.
Because we're not listening to our body, and we hear that, but we're not listening, but we're really, really not actually.
Yeah.
And when you do start to listen, you go, oh my God, I've got all these pains. And then you judge that instead of don't judge it. And that's hard as well. So it's discipline. So it's easy for us to go, and that's bad about me. Yeah. Instead of, okay, just listen to it, be gentle, go into your inner child. Imagine your daughter or your son, 2-year-old, you wouldn't look at them and just go, you're a piece of crap, or you need to do that better. You just go, you're just perfect. Yeah. That's what we need to be doing with ourselves. Mm-hmm. And, I have a picture of myself when I'm 2 on the fridge with mum and dad holding me. So I remind myself of that innocent, pure little girl who needs love instead of beating her up all the time and being so mean to her. You need to treat yourself like you treat your children.
Yeah.
Not teenage children, little children.
Well, I'm going to disagree. I'm going to disagree with you, because I think for me, it is that teenage girl, because they need that more.
No, not the way we treat our teenagers when you get angry with them. Yeah, no, I know that Tina was suffering. So as soon as that estrogen comes in, forget yourself.
Yeah. I don't think I think there's this training in us that needs to go back and readdress that teenage girl in all of us, because there's nobody that's harder on herself than a teenage girl.
And you see it with the teenage girls, and you're like, don't waste your time. Don't waste, because you know yourself, when you have a picture that was taken 10 years ago, you can look at it now and go, I look pretty good. But when that was taken then, you're like, oh God, delete it. I can't stand it. And I tell them, you're going to look at your skin. How many women look at their faces? We look at our bodies when we walk past the mirror. How long since you've actually looked at your face and gone, that's pretty good. It's all right, I've got this going on. Or you find something good about yourself, but teenagers just fine. And I just had a woman here a minute ago, and she said that, most of her friends, she's 26, are bulimic or have been bulimic. Like, seriously? I mean, this is really, I know it's rampant, but it's really full on. It's not getting better. It's getting worse, with that stuff. And that beautiful documentary, Embrace.
Yeah.
Who made that again, that lovely woman?
It starts with B.
B. Bracket.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a great.
I just bawled the whole way through that and just went, everyone should see this, not just women and girls, but everyone should see this, to see what we're doing to ourselves and not appreciating what we have. And thank you, body. Thank you, body, for doing what you do, because you're going to be old and you're not going to be able to do that and have this vitality. So, it's a bit of a mess, really.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but would it be fair to say that the central healing thing here is self-love, isn't it? It's we've got to care about ourselves enough to put in, to sleep enough and to meditate and to feed ourselves properly and to take the time. It's about actually caring for ourselves, isn't it? It's that self-love.
Self-respect. I always, yes. But I recently listened to a talk by Marianne Williamson, who I adore, on the Hay House Summit, which was brilliant. And she went, what is all this self-love business? Like, it is just ridiculous. And it was a really good, another opinion, and I really respect her. But she said, you can't love yourself until you love other people. And we have it the other way around. We've always been taught you can't love other people until you love yourself. You can't have a person love you in a relationship until you love yourself. But we're all very I-centered as well amongst all of this.
Yeah.
And the empathy isn't there. The compassion isn't there so much for other people. And, when we're very quick to judge each other, very quick.
Yeah.
And instead of going, compassion for that person, and I understand why that person is like that, and then that helps us reflect on ourselves, and that helps us, was what she was saying, to love ourselves more instead of being so quick to judge ourselves, because we're all one. We share the same air, breath. We share a lot. We're one cell, really, and what happens to one happens to another. And that's part of actually the adrenal fatigue. When I talked about the chemical and physical, emotional stress, the unseen forces is huge, if not the most huge. So electromagnetic, like microwaves and, all the radiation and the things we can't see, but also, every thought and action we have or do is affecting somebody else. We're all sharing the same field. So we all are in this together. And so I think, yes, self-respect is a must, and training your brain not to walk past that mirror and criticize yourself, and start walking and talking and behaving, like walk the talk as your future self. So Einstein's quote, which is one of my favorites, imagination is everything. It's the preview to life's coming attractions. Everything you have now, body, mind, spirit, is what you have thought up until now. So everything you're doing from now is going to create your future. So you have to start seeing yourself as that person, the weight, the size, the relationship, the job. And you don't check the scales every 5 minutes if it's a weight thing, because then you don't believe it. You are that person already. Your body will catch up to it. It catches up. That's how it works. It's epigenetics. It's body-mind connection. You have to be, instead of, and, I catch myself going, when I've got gut pain, going, I hide, and you walk differently, and your face is screwed up, and you wear crappy clothes because you don't feel, good enough. You can't be doing that. You need to pull your shoulders back, and this opens your heart up and lets your digestion work, and be that person that you see yourself as. It's the law of attraction. It's the same thing. Your body catches up, and very quickly. But it's mental discipline, and you have to believe in who you are to become. Even if you've got nothing, your whole world's fallen apart. You've seen that. We love these stories of, triumph of women that have lost everything, and then or men, but women would kind of go, yeah. And then, the Maya Angelou documentary. Have you seen that?
I haven't, but
oh my goodness. It's just incredible, her story. She was abused by her stepfather at 6, I think. And And then, you know, she was a prostitute and like, she's an incredible woman. And Oprah, I mean, she was Oprah's mentor. And we just go, wow, but anyone can do it. I mean, it's not about race. It's not about gender. It's not about class or status. I mean, this is thought. It's all thought. If we can make ourselves sick, which we know we can, you get anxious and you get sick, you get eczema or headaches or whatever you get, or gut pain, you can make yourself well. But you need to imagine your future and don't let go of it. And every time you do, which is often, it's constant in the beginning, and it's uncomfortable because it's change, I put a slide in there of your perfect vision of your perfect future and just swap it. But, you know, it's hard because you go, I'm a bit indulgent. I just want to wallow in my self-pity.
Yeah.
And then you go, oh, my God, it's first world problems. But pain is pain. We're much sicker than the third world. We're much sicker. We have the rates of autoimmunity and cancer and Parkinson's and all of these 21st century conditions. They don't even have in the third world these issues. But, you know, they don't have time, and also they have community and they're out in the dirt and they don't have chemicals on their food while they're getting there. But, you know, we just need to discipline our mind and stop feeling so sorry for ourselves, really, because it's not what happens to you in your life that matters. It's how you deal with it.
Yep.
That is absolutely the bottom line, because there's a lot of crap that happens to a lot of us, but you're like, right, I'm resilient. I'm back on the horse and I'm back there, and I'm not. And anxiety creeps in. And then you go, I just need to think about this, because if I don't think about it, it will all go to the dogs. You don't, actually. The best thing is thinking never solved anything. You need to stop the thinking and let the body tell you the answers.
I love the idea of, you know, that be the woman you want to become. Don't wait till you get there.
Well, you're not good. You'll stay where you are and get worse, and you're getting older.
Love it.
You know, and then your skin's not so dewy and everything starts to sag and, you know, all that stuff. And you need to start visualize. It's very quick when you start to do it. Like, it's very quick. Like, it's a matter of days. You just go, oh, I feel lighter.
Yeah.
Instead of focusing on that sluggishness and the pain. You know, the pain is there to tell you you're on the wrong path. You're off track, sister. That's what the pain, your body will tell you straight away. If you're feeling good, even after a traumatic event, like a breakup, you go, I feel good, actually. That's good. You're on the right path. Keep going.
I do vision board workshops, which when I first did them, I thought, oh, this is going to be, people are going to think it's a bit woo-woo and a bit daggy and stuff. But I do these whole day workshops, and they are just so fun. They are
creativity is so important. After meditation, that just has to happen.
Yeah.
You don't have to be Matisse or, you know, Picasso. You need to just be creative however if you want to go to a choir or gardening or cooking or whatever you're doing, writing, basket weaving is so beautiful. It's something meditative and creative where you're not actually in your conscious brain. It's your unconscious that's working for you.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, we're going to have to wind it up, and I'm sad because we could just keep talking.
No food, but I think just to wrap that up, if that's okay, it's a good thing we've been too focused on food for too long. And I mean, I feel, you know, responsible because I was the one that got health food out there in the media, and you know, food is medicine and it's so important, but we've forgotten all the other aspects of our health and the exercise and relaxation and friendships, and it's all like, I'll just have another acai bowl or a kale smoothie and I'll be fine. And it's and we'll just cut the grains out and we'll eat more meat. And it's not, you need to get your diet right. You absolutely need to get your diet right, and you need that imbalance in your body for the chemical homeostasis balance, but you also need all the other things as well. So let's get our diet right, go organic. Is it simple as that? It's not about cutting this out, cutting out that. It's mostly plants. Like Michael Pollan says, the nutritionist in America, you're not what you eat that you are, it's what you eat eats. And he also says eat food, mostly plants, not too much. Simple, brilliant. And then let's focus on who we are and our femininity and getting our needs met and being of service to the planet, because that's the best way to heal.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. It's a perfect way to end. I know you've got a little gift for our audience. Could you just take a minute to explain what that is?
Sure. So I a couple of years ago developed programs. So I do 6-week programs because complex 21st century conditions, well, they're complex and they're individual. So one session, I found I was like, "Bleh!" and giving way too much information to people, and it was too much. But people want to have it right now. But so I've kind of educated people that you need to spend some time on this, on you. So I do 6-week programs and we cover everything. So your chemicals and your emotional life, your physical life, your mental life, everything we've been talking about. And so I'm going to offer a 10% discount, and they're affordable anyway because I want people to be able to do them. So a 10% discount for the 6-week program.
That is absolutely perfect. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for being part of this series. This interview was absolutely perfect. I loved
it too. Good luck.
All right. Bye for now.
Bye.